Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience, and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I'm super excited to announce the release of my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. In the book, which the concept for was initially shown to me in a dream and has been followed by a next level amount of synchronicity, I share the keys to manifesting abundance that I've personally discovered over 25 years of trial, error, and deep exploration of these key perspectives, as well as one golden key that ultimately ties them all together. Waking up our planet by sharing these keys to abundance is the quickest way I know of to help us to transition our home into the planet of paradise it is destined to become, which is why I would like to gift the book to you at goldenkey.gift when you use the golden key code POSITIVEHEAD. I'd also like to invite you to create your own unique golden key code so you in turn can gift the book to others, as well as invite you to participate in a unique abundance manifestation game with me and the other readers that is outlined in detail at the end of the book and on the website, where readers will also share the inspiring results of their abundance manifestation experiments. Lastly, I am going to practice what I preach by sharing 50% of the abundance generated from the game and sale of the other golden goodies on the site with you and the other readers. So if you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD. All right, all you positive heads, welcome back to another episode of the Positive Head Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Beecham. Dalien, the alien, is here, ready, willing to bring you another download of podcast podcastian magic.
Greetings and salutations. Podcast magic, is that a thing? Why does that sound somehow familiar?
It's a thing now.
Oh, yeah. There may be something out there. It sounds like a product. Podcast magic.
Totally.
It's the whole kit to make your podcast shine.
Right.
Yeah. It's got the
comes with a crystal ball.
The microbead wiping cloth or something. The spray to make it give it a high gloss.
This magical formula on your podcast and watch it blossom or
podcast
something.
Magic.
But wait, there's more. Order now and you get 2 bottles of podcast magic.
Oh, man.
Okay.
We're going off the rails again.
I'll stop.
That's, quite unexpected, right?
Thank goodness most of you guys love me and can put up with my failed attempts at being a comedian.
I know, huh? Thank God you're so lovable and,
Or something.
It's one of your 2 awesome traits that suit you so well for this podcast. The other one being such a deft interviewer.
Right. Well, I do what I can. Let's see here, Dalien. What do we got? A review time on iTunes. And I guess Podbean, it appears, is the go-to for Android. So those of you who aren't on iTunes, not Apple users, I get it. I understand. I wasn't for a long time. I've been converted, but that was only a few years ago. So if you have an Android device or don't use iTunes, go on to Podbean, please, and review us there. I think we've only got like 1 review or something there, which is fine. It's I'm just kind of learning more about it now. I wasn't even sure what the Android go-to was, but it appears that is. So if you guys could review us on Podbean, that'd be cool. I do have a review on iTunes today. which is really cool as well. This is from Lola. And then in parentheses, it says, lots of love always. Like that. Haven't ever seen that. 5 stars. Great podcast to feed your soul and give you fresh energy for the day. This podcast is a wonderful resource to assist you with your journey of self-discovery and self-love. Open your mind and your heart to the powerful messages you'll find here, meant just for you. Much love, Lola. Thank you, Lola. You are lovely indeed. And I love how you said that, meant just for you. They are meant just for you. It is your own private universe. You are the center, star, lead actor, lead director in your own movie, and this is a reflection. So if you're tuning in, it is happening because it's meant just for you. It is happening for you. And that's why we have so much daily, synchronicity that happens. People write in almost daily with, wow, I'm just blown away by the synchronicity of what you talked about with what I'm dealing with. And that's because it's just for you. So, such a trippy, amazing, game we've set up here as souls, isn't it?
Indeed. And I would say you're even kind of slightly foreshadowing the episode of, or the theme, a little bit of the theme of today's episode, because we're going to delve a little bit deeper under the surface layer of, how
that this concept. Yeah.
We're going to explore some of the, And thanks to a question, apparently, right? Something that spurred us on to look into this subject.
So, yeah, there you have it. There's a little synchronicity with what Lola's review said, tied in with the random question that someone wrote in that we decided to answer, and they kind of play off of each other. And, it just kind of falls together like this.
Nice.
But before we get into that, you got a story, right?
Yeah. Let me go ahead and report on my story here, which is actually a pretty classic Positive Head podcast type of story to bring you. And even though it comes from Collective Evolution, which is a site that I'm turning to more and more for stories, it's one of the ones that you might find on one of the other more, dare I say, fringy sites out there. Because it's quite the bombshell, Brandon. It's another ostensibly credible source, this time a Lockheed executive, right? Lockheed being the big aerospace, whatchamacallit, what would you say? Industrial, military industrial complex conglomerate, aeronautics,
they build,
aerospace.
Yeah, exactly. They build like huge planes and rockets.
Exactly.
Yep. Who knows what else that we don't hear about?
Yep. So, that's what you just said is pretty much it. Who knows what else we didn't hear about? Well, this was an executive called Rich. This was an article from last month, Brandon, on Collective Evolution that is entitled Lockheed Executive Blows the Lid on Secret Government Space Travel.
Oh, wow.
And it's got in parentheses quantum entanglement, because they go into the science of that a little bit. And what this guy, just to get to that sort of meaty part of the story right away, what essentially happens is this guy's being interviewed, and this was, I guess, before he passed, but this was Rich, pretty high-ranking. He was director of Skunk Works from the 1970s, I think, until the early 90s. And so he was asked some of these more kind of out-there questions, you could say, but he went ahead and just started replying in such a fashion as to say, like, yeah, it's all true. Rich has been, among other things, been called the father of stealth.
What's his full name?
They don't give the last name.
Oh, it's kind of like that. Got it.
Well, the father of stealth, Rich. So that Rich, right? Rich
is going to be stealthy about his last name.
Yes. He oversaw the development of the stealth fighter, the F-117A Nighthawk. But he passed, and before he passed, he said, "We already have the means to travel among the stars, but those technologies are locked up in black projects, and it would take an act of God to ever get them out to benefit humanity. Anything you can imagine, we already know how to do it."
Wow.
And there's a couple of other quotes, but essentially he's saying that. He says it pretty much point blank, like, yeah, we can send ET home, we can travel to the stars, we can do that now.
There's so many people saying this. sort of thing from different angles. You know, you have this guy, Corey Good, that is on Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia.tv with David Wilcock, and pretty fascinating. I mean, either this guy is a really, really creative storyteller and should be writing fiction novels, or he was a part of the secret space program. And the stuff that he goes into is such detail. And, you know, what's fascinating, Dalien, about these types of stories, they're coming from so many angles of so many different people who are, you know, claimed to be, you know, in these high ranking positions in these organizations. And it's kind of always the similar or same sort of story. Hey, we've had this stuff for a long time. It's being hidden from you. It's tied up in black projects. Then, of course, you see reports of trillions of dollars missing. I think I saw something just last week. Trillions of dollars that are unaccounted for in the government. That's a lot of money. Where did it go? Well, all these guys are claiming secret space programs. Or we have people, you know, I just saw something, NASA employee saying he saw pictures of people on Mars 20 years ago. Like, we've, you know, supposedly got, you know, so much activity happening out there. Bases on the moon, bases on Mars, traveling among the stars. Who knows? I don't know if it's really true or not. All I know is it's coming out from a lot of different angles, and there's a lot of missing money, supposedly. So,
Yeah, that's crazy. So much money. Yeah, that's really kind of awful, but not unexpected, of course, Brendan.
Well, he said an act of God to blow the lid off some of this stuff. I believe in acts of God. I believe the lid, if it is going on, you know, it's like our quote from a couple episodes ago. The truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Let it loose. It will defend itself. Or maybe even a better one than that is Buddha's truth quote. 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, the truth. And so it's just a matter of time, Dalien. I mean, if this stuff is really happening the way all these different sources are reporting, it's going to come out. It's the lid will be blown off. And yeah,
it's exactly as you said, because I was thinking the same thing. It's one of these things where, the government can try and hide the truth, but the truth being so, you know, pervasive, you're talking about, like you referenced, dozens, if not, I don't know, hundreds now of individuals, possibly thousands of, you know, more and more credible sources that, eventually.
Certainly dozens, maybe hundreds. Eventually, there's a lot of people.
It is going to come out. Let me just real quick tie the portion of the story where they go into quantum entanglement, because this guy, Rich, was asked, Brendan, how UFO propulsion worked. And essentially the interviewer asked him that, and Rich, I guess, replied with a question. He said, let me ask you something. How does ESP work? So this guy, I guess the questioner kind of put 2 and 2 together and said, oh, okay, so you're telling me, or you're implying all points in space and time are connected. And Rich said, yeah, that's it. So it sounds like what the whole UFO thing, or the thing that we can theoretically do now, is tap into that whole kind of matrix of reality thing and hack into space-time to travel through space-time. It's just tantalizing that we can even do that.
Yeah, what a fascinating time and space we live in. Before we continue on with today's episode, I'd like to take a quick moment to tell you about our sponsor, NOOM. NOOM is a unique, habit-changing solution that helps users learn to develop a new relationship with food. And it's not a diet. No food is considered good or bad. As we talk about on this show all the time, it's all about proper balance and having good habits. And Noom just teaches you how to look within your own mind and make better decisions for yourself. Sounds familiar, right? It's based in psychology, eating better to feel better. It focuses on the story that we tell around food and how to feel good about our choices. And they make it all super easy to do with a minimal commitment of only 10 minutes a day, which is essential for someone like me with so much on my plate. Pun intended. So if you guys would like to try out the cognitive behavioral approach to losing weight that has led to 80% of Noomers finishing the program and 60% sticking to their goals for at least 1 year, head over to noom.com/positivehead to start your trial today. That's spelled NOOM.com/positivehead. I mean, what do you have to lose except outdated habits and perhaps a few extra pounds by signing up for the trial? Once again, that's NOOM.com/positivehead. Check it out. All right, then, moving right along, but staying in the realm of of quantum weirdness today. We had a question from Seth, and Seth wrote in, short, sweet, but great question. Can you talk a bit about this 3D to 5D thing that's showing up everywhere? So you're hearing a lot out there about, us being in the third dimension, but we're shifting into the fifth dimension. And well, first off, Seth, I don't claim to be any major expert. I claim to be someone who's very, very curious and open-minded and reads things, checks things out, discusses what my perspective is on them. So I'm happy to do that because I think that's a really interesting question. I've heard a lot of interesting thoughts and theories and ideas surrounding this sort of concept. Of course, us being in this 3D reality, but there's sort of a merging of dimensions that's going on between this and sort of the upgraded, you hear about ascension, right? Ascending vibrationally. And, of course, I've mentioned it before. One of the really interesting theories that I've heard is that we're moving into a new region of space. Think about it like this. You're on a spaceship. You're hurtling at this tremendous speed through the cosmos, and there's different vibrational sectors, right? And we're entering a sector that is elevated vibrationally, and as a result, our cells are reacting to that, right? Being influenced by this new region of space, and as a result, it's causing a shift in our consciousness. It's causing a shift in everything, and so yeah. To me, that sounds true, feels true. Something's going on. Of course, you've had all kinds of prophecies about 2012 and things like that being a turning point where we're entering this sort of tipping point of going to a new dimension of reality, and things are becoming quicker manifestations. And I actually went and I started researching some with this question just to kind of freshen up and see what other people out there were saying and to, Seth, give you my best feedback on this. I found a cool page on YouTube, this woman, Weshela, and she talked a little bit psychic, individual empath, very interesting woman. And she talked about the shift from 3D to 5D, and what she was saying was going to happen was there would be no time delay between thoughts and manifestation. So a stamp of the third dimension is, and why people don't understand that they're creating their reality as much as maybe they would in 5D, historically, is because I've heard the saying before, if you want to know what you'll see tomorrow, look at what you're thinking today, right? So there's this gap between the energy you're emitting and the vibrational reflection. And so people aren't connecting the dots. So they don't realize, what I got today was because I was playing in this vibrational pool 6 months ago, right? And they don't understand that they created it. There's a lag. Well, supposedly as we move into the fifth dimension, there's less time delay between thoughts and manifestations. So you don't actually sort of ascend into the fifth dimension until you really are ready for that much power, because one of the buffers and things that helps us in 3D is that delay as well, because we're been mired in negativity and, so forth. And we're still kind of getting our sea legs with this whole mini god sorcerer. I like to say sorcerer. We're channeling source. As we're becoming sorcerers, we still have sort of been wobbly, right? A lot of negative thoughts, a lot of negative energy, and if we have time to correct those, imagine if every time you thought something negative. I think of the old Ghostbusters movie, or it's probably in the new one too, where whatever they think instantly manifests, right? And the guy thinks of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man as a giant scary monster. Well, if you're thinking something negative and it instantly manifests, you don't really want that 5D power until you're really ready to wield it. When you really understand how to create, and you really have got control over your thoughts and creations. She talked about, Weshela talked about, answer is given where you focus. So you follow the energy to the answer. She talked about with her, her own psychic ability, if someone would ask her a question that she was reading, she would see a line of energy coming off of them to sort of this ball of energy that is the answer. So very interesting. And then you read that information. And she talked about, light patterns in meditation. A lot of people seeing geometry. A lot of people who do, have used DMT. This first thing that you see is all the sacred geometry. So there's sort of like information coming in light patterns more frequently, or you hear more and more people interacting with beings or light beings. Once again, as the veil kind of comes down, we are more we're playing in the same neighborhood, so to speak, as these light beings. So everything coming to you more easily and effortlessly, she talked about. And what was interesting, Dalien, she also talked about normal consciousness taking its role, what it's really designed to do, and that's managing the physical body. Hey, the stove is hot, get away from it. Hey, this tiger's coming, we should run. Whatever. It's instead of this normal consciousness running the show like it has, instead it takes the role it was meant to, and now your intuition is steering the ship. Now this sort of connection to your higher self, to source, is sort of soul is steering, and your ego consciousness, your normal waking consciousness, is now moving back into the spot that it was originally designed to be in. And of course, when that got flip-flopped is where we got into so much trouble, right? So I'm no expert, but a lot of this sounds true, rings true. I certainly can, some of this with Shayla has seen she talked about, well, actually, no, it wasn't her. There's a Bashar clip that I'm going to share where he talks about, as you sort of ascend, different people show up. And I certainly have seen that in my own life. In the past, there was no one I could talk to about this stuff who even knew what I was talking about, other than books I'd read and things going back, 10 plus years. Now, everyone who comes into my world is like on the same vibrational sort of plane. And Bashar actually is going to talk about that here. Let's take a listen. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Bashar, I've played some Bashar clips before. Very interesting individual. He just makes me laugh every time. His demeanor, his energy, his way. He is supposedly an individual who's channeling an extraterrestrial entity. I don't know whether it's true or not. Doesn't matter to me. It's the information that's coming through, and it is very powerful, inspired feeling, wise. It gives me that sense of, this is something to listen to. You can feel the energy, whatever it is he's tapping into, his own higher self, maybe extraterrestrial, as he claims. Certainly wouldn't be any weirder than me sitting here talking to you right now. But let's hear Bashar talk about predictions 2012 and beyond. This is going back a while. This is like, this clip's like almost 10 years old, but Happy Skydiver 33 YouTube page. I found it. Let's take a listen.
That relates to something that's happening now.
Oh, all right.
Throughout my life,
Guys.
I've had dreams
Guys.
of a movement, and I've seen the Earth change.
Yes.
I started learning about it from my aunt and different things, and then my ancestry, where I come from, the Hopi,
Yes.
have prophecies.
Yes.
The land shifting.
Yes.
Time changing.
Yes.
I had a very specific dream just before I came to Los Angeles.
Yes.
And most of you don't know this, but y'all were in it. I dreamt about each one of you before I saw you, and that's why every time I see you guys perform, sometimes I can't speak and sometimes I cry, because you were all in this dream. And the Hopi and the Aztec call it the children of the fifth sun, where we're moving towards this next world.
Yes.
And the 2012 phenomenon and the collapsing point.
Although, of course, there are a few different kinds of interpretations and many different ideas that are connected to those notions, other than just the popular ones, shall we say.
Would you like to expand on that?
Well, there are a few different things we can share. One thing we have already told many of you is that the threshold that you call 2012 is simply the leading edge of the collective consciousness crossing critical mass threshold. The idea being that on the other side of that particular moment in time, there will be more positive momentum on the planet than negative. Yes. You follow me?
Yes.
Now, what you do with that is still up to you. But it will be available to you because the collective consciousness on your planet, like the leading edge of a wave, will be such that you can dip into that more easily, more effortlessly. We have also mentioned that for a long time, many thousands of your years, with respect to your relationship to extraterrestrial societies such as our own, Your planet has been in a type of, shall we say, hands-off quarantine, where we are not allowed to interfere in any way, shape, or form with your development. After 2012, the quarantine is up. Now, that doesn't mean we're all going to land our ships the next day. What it does mean, however, is that we could, depending upon what you do on your planet, we will no longer be held back by the quarantine. We will only be taking our cue from that point forward from the actions you all take and the kind of reality you all choose to create. You follow me? So that's a couple of other things that go along with that kind of timing. And so, the way in which you experience this transition, again, is really up to you. Please remember, there are an infinite number of parallel realities all going on simultaneously. It's not in a sense that you actually change the world you are in. It's that you change your frequency to be like that of the world you prefer to experience, and then experience that parallel Earth that already exists on that level. It may look as if everything around you has changed, but in fact, it's you that have changed, and in a sense have shifted yourself to a world in which there already exist the versions of the other people that are germane to that world, that are on the same frequency of that world. Those that are not on that frequency will no longer appear in your reality. They will simply vanish from your life one way or another. As time goes on, even though right now you are still in a collective agreement that allows you to experience many people who have belief systems that are very different from your own, maybe even very incompatible with the frequency that you prefer, in time, this will no longer be possible. The idea will be that those people will simply phase out of your reality. They will remain in the reality in which their frequency is appropriate. And you will have vanished from their reality. Oh, I wonder whatever happened to so-and-so. They're on another Earth, having their own experience based on the frequency they most believed would occur. So when you go through these transitions, when you look at the idea of change on your planet, remember, many of the things that are prophesied are statements that were made at the time of the energy that existed at the time the prophecy was made. Because there really is no such thing as a prediction of the future. A prediction is a sensing of the energy that exists at the time the prediction is made. If that changes, the prediction is obsolete. If it doesn't, it comes true, as you say. But it's up to you. Many times, hearing the prediction is what causes it to change. Because now you can do something about it. The person making the prediction is saying, look, this is where our energy is. Do we want it to stay here, or do we want to change it? Do we want to experience the transition this way or this way? Up to you. Let's get it all out on the table. This is what we perceive. Now you decide how you want to experience this transformation. What kind of relationship do you want to have with each other and with your world and with the spirits and with all that is? How do you want to experience this reality? Who do you want to be? And that's what determines what you will experience. And you can even, for a time, be standing right next to someone who chooses to experience the transformation in a very destructive, scary, fearful way. And you can be standing right next to them and not experience anything that they're experiencing at all. At all. You follow me?
Yes.
Does this help illuminate some of what you are discussing?
Yes.
Brendan, it's really interesting. We were talking about something kind of like that at lunch with your brother yesterday about alternate lives and how that's really what I believe, of course. But we are living sort of like multiply overlapping alternate versions of our lives, really. And this is what the whole there is a connection with the whole question about, transition from 3D to 5D. And from what I was able to find as well, like you, I went out there and kind of, looked up whatever I could to brush up on that subject. Essentially, the sort of main characteristic of that transition is what you explained, is that transition from there being a noticeable gap between your thoughts and your manifestation to there being no gap. But what this whole thing really gets into is everything we always talk about, Brandon, which is learning to manage your vibration, learning to manage your energy, focus your thoughts to the extent you can. Of course, we know that being very disciplined, very much a master with your thoughts and emotions is, the task of a lifetime. It's what, takes us many lifetimes really to master. But this whole sort of model of the transition from 3 to 5D is really just kind of designed to make us master in a nutshell, because we're going to have to master our energy. One of the things that I heard from this lady, but also have read up about with this transition, is the fact that, of course, there's going to be possibly like a lot of people out there who are going to be kind of left behind, you could say. And what's going to happen is that there's going to be such a, I guess, significant vibrational or vibratory discrepancy between the people who are more kind of in tune with, their true selves and, more in line with this mastery concept, right? And the people who are still needing to work through a lot of darkness.
Right.
And of course, there's really no judgment either way. But, the ones who are, of course, very troubled out there. And, maybe we'll see that it's not that many people. But the people who need to work through some really heavy karma are going to, in a way, just kind of like not be part of our reality. There's all these different versions of what's going to happen with those people or us versus them, however you want to look at that.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that, is mentioned a lot with this transition. And what the whole thing, I would say, beyond getting really kind of caught up in that, the thing that I think is important to remember is that this is always driving to the same thing, which is, that we want to be masters in our lives. We want to try and, be in control of our, thoughts and emotions as much as we can, and not let distractions and not let other people and situations, take that away from us. Right.
And that's why it's so important, that what Shayla woman was talking about in the video clip I checked out. I didn't share here, but, kind of gave you guys some highlights. She was saying how it's so important to focus on yourself and letting go of any resentment or, anger or any of those things. If you want to ascend into the fifth dimension, you have to sort of transcend those things. And I love how Bashar puts it, there's all these different parallel timelines. You're just navigating in and out of different ones with your energy. So there's no definitive future timeline. There's tons of different future timelines, and you're choosing which one that you're going to see. And of course, there's ones where there's all these people who have ascended to the fifth dimension, and are creating more consciously and are aware of the connectedness and oneness of all things. And you can end up there, or perhaps you're someone who needs more processing on a darker timeline where there's still a lot more dense energy and, Trump is president. I had a little joke for you there, guys there. But, so, it's such a fascinating concept and such an interesting game that we've set up for ourselves here. I love the feeling of being in control. It's not like this major Earth timeline that's happening to me. Like, instead, I'm happening to it, right? And this goes with everything that we teach and say and talk about and feel and believe. You're happening to it. It's not happening to you. So you have the power. You have the power which version you see, how quickly you ascend to this next sort of level of experience, this 5D type experience versus the old paradigm where things work on a different frequency and a different set of rules in a different way. It's all there. Whether or not you go to the next level or not is really always up to you. You're creating your own reality, right?
Yeah, Brian, I suppose the thing that is really kind of easy to get lose sight of is the fact that there's this prevailing old paradigm of being externally focused. So you're, just entranced by or, completely sort of enraptured by the material world, right?
Right.
So many people still have this really materialistic, you could say, but only from the standpoint of what I can see is real, what I can understand is real. And if I don't see it or understand it, it isn't real, right?
Right.
As we know, that's really just kind of a limited point of view because there are a lot of things that we don't, of course, know or understand that have their own reality.
Right.
And the thing is that reality can also it can also affect us and influence us. But what we're learning to do now is to, I think, really shift that paradigm. So now we're, instead of always being externally focused, now we're beginning to really understand, oh, wait a minute, I am the kind of focal point of my, universe, like
universe,
you said. Yeah, I am the star of my own movie, as you've said many times. And so what does that all kind of break down to? If you think, okay, well, I have a body, but obviously I'm going to die. I'm a human being, right? That's part of my experience, right? So if we take the whole life and death sort of question out of the picture for a moment, what is there left? What is the whole question of life and death drive to? It's the fact that my consciousness is going to survive. So my body may die, but I will still be around, essentially, right? I am my thoughts and feelings. That's who I truly am. I am not my body, because of course my body's going to die. So that's the kind of major paradigm shift that's happening here. And I think that's what's going to help people gain this mastery, is this understanding that, we are not our bodies. We are not what we see out there. That's a reflection of what's in here. And that's what we are fundamentally, is our thoughts and feelings.
Okay, cool little tidbit here. As you're talking, I started thinking of Alexis Arquette, who just died. And you mentioned my brother. We were actually, he had read a story. She died. Alexis Arquette, of course, transgender, I believe.
Transvestite, from what I know.
Okay, yeah. So died a couple days ago. And my brother was telling me, he read an article how she was going in and out of awareness, going between the dimensions. Because I think of when you go to 3D to 5D, it's like this next dimension over is coming into this one. That's why it's easier to contact spirit. It's easier to see light beings, all these things. It's like the merging is happening. The veil is thinning. And Alexis Arquette had this experience where as she was transitioning, from what he read and told me, was that she was going back and forth between the dimensions, essentially, and reporting back, saying, "Oh, I just was over there. We're all one there." Of course, everyone's reporting the same thing. It's all one. There is no gender there. It's kind of saying all this stuff. And what an interesting, fascinating thing, though, for someone to kind of be flitting between before they transition and coming back and reporting what they're finding. So I'll have to look that article up, or read more about that. But yeah, she basically is coming back saying, "Oh wow, I was just there on the other side. It's all one. This gender thing is all an illusion. There is, and of course that was a big theme in her life, right?" So Dalien, I pull up the article as you're talking, I Google Alexis Arquette just to see what I can read, about it. And lo and behold, my birthday. She was born on July 28th. So, that's pretty cool. If you guys have ever listened, I think it's in the second episode, I talk about all the weirdness, synchronicity around my birthday. I have a lot going on with that. And so, yeah, that's pretty cool to not only have that cool, story to report, but then to have the tie-in to my birthday, which is, go back to episode number 2. You'll hear a little bit about it if you're interested. It's pretty cool.
Uh-huh. And I like that also speaks to this shift in paradigm that I was talking about, because, of course, sex or our gender is externally tied to our bodies, which is a material thing. That's passing ephemeral thing that's not ultimately real. It's only temporarily real. Right. So who we are transcends gender.
Right.
We are both male and female. We have both aspects.
Indeed. Well, Dalien, this has been a really cool, fascinating episode to explore. Seth, thank you so much for writing in with a question. And any of you who haven't ever written in with a question, please do. We love getting questions from you guys and sort of having you help us to frame the shows. It gives us a sort of a direction to go in, and we just love mixing it up with you guys as much as possible. So please don't hesitate to write in through positivehead.com, or write me directly, Brandon@positivehead.com. And I'd love to check out your questions and very likely feature on the show.
Yeah, and like you always say, reviews on iTunes and now Podbean too. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, Dalien, we have some music here to leave the lovely listeners with. This is Singularis, Multicolored Love. Hope you enjoy the multicoloredness of this beautiful song. Also, before we cue up today's song, I wanted to remind you about the Game with the Universe on our website, where you can choose the first number that comes to your mind and it'll pull up that episode number of the podcast. I've been saying this is a great way to co-create synchronicity and magic with your higher self for quite some time. And if you go to positivehead.com/universe, there is a super fun and simple interface to play this game with your higher self. I firmly believe just by setting the intention to play in this way, it opens up the door for magic, and it's a synchronistic way to hone in on nuggets of wisdom out of the huge catalog of episodes that are specifically appropriate for you at this time in your journey to becoming the next greatest and greatest version of yourself. And it also makes for a super fun way to spark the curiosity of friends and family by having them choose a number, so they'll hopefully go and check out their number as well, which I greatly appreciate because it helps us to spread the word about the podcast. Once again, the address is positivehead.com/universe. And as a quick reminder, if you're curious to learn more about Purium superfoods and why I take them almost every day, be sure to also check out positivehead.com/transformation. On this journey of becoming the next greatest and grandest version of ourselves that we have all embarked upon, I cannot stress the importance of managing your physical vibration enough. And quite honestly, Purium has put together the simplest plan I've found to do so. I have my favorite, the appleberry shake, at least 5 times a week. Once again, to learn more about the Purium transformation, go to positivehead.com/transformation. Or if you want to keep it simple and just try out my favorite, the appleberry shake, you can go straight over to ishoppurium.com and be sure to use code positivehead for 25% off. I'll spell that for you. It's ishoppurium.com. And be sure to use your Positive Head 25% coupon code.